Hello everyone, this is Alex, and today I'm showing you a magic trick. How to make only a group of 5 string sound huge. And the example I'll show you is something I worked on as an arranger. This is from the soundtrack for the movie Outstanding from Mélanie Charbonneau. And I work as an arranger for this for the composer Antoine Félix Rochette, a very talented up-and-coming composer that I think you need to look out for. So in this video, I'll show you the magic trick that we use for the opening scene, and it involves only 5 strings and 3 brass instruments. That's it. People often think that to write epic cinematic music, you need to hire a full orchestra. Well, it's not quite true anymore, and I'll show you this in a second. But before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you cannot miss a single video from me. And I thank you in advance for your support, but now let's dive in. Alright, so now this is the opening cue for the movie, and I wanted to show you this one because it's so characteristic of the music of the whole film by Antoine Félix Rochette. So what we have here, a horn in F, a trumpet in B flat, and it's written trumpet in B flat, but it's mostly a flugelhorn that we use, which is an instrument that's much closer to this kind of military sound that we were looking for. And then a single trombone, so only 3 of these instruments, nothing more. And then we have a group of strings. At first this might seem like a string orchestra that's all playing divises. Well, no, this was actually just a string quintet. 2 violins, 1 viola, 1 cello, and 1 double bass. We just decided that with some of these cues, we would just double the sound by doing an overdub. So it's like we have 10 strings suddenly for the price of 5. Well, actually, you can argue that it took longer to record with the 5 musicians that we had, but still you'll hear the result is quite satisfying. So let's listen to the beginning of the cue, which I want to focus on today. Okay, so you can understand a little bit what we did here. We doubled every string to make it sound bigger and fuller, and especially to add more musical lines. We really wanted this kind of intricate kind of texture that was a little bit harmonic, but not so much. It was just like a big pad or something. And the fact that we have all these strings moving and changing notes at different times, notice that some of these strings disappear and do crescendos at different times. Like here we have this pianissimo going to a piano, and behind this there's this other note that's coming in with 3 different lines, and actually 4 different lines, up to a piano here. So the crescendos and the climax of the lines are at different moments. And then these 2 upper lines here going to the mezzo forte are actually coming in a little bit after and by themselves, as the rest of the group of the instruments are staying pianissimo. Some of them are just stopping. This bass line is staying pianissimo. So see that also this is super interesting, this kind of texture. You just have this big sound that's moving together, but every line is independent, more or less. So it's kind of a sound design kind of approach. It's a way to approach orchestration with this idea that you're building the sound instead of just adding lines or a musical line or orchestrating a theme or something. But I'm saying that, but there's a theme. There's this little line, da dee da tum, and this comes through the whole movie. And this is usually played by the brass instrument. So you see this is only a simple doubling of a horn and a trombone, and it works super well and answered by the trumpet here. Or should I say the flugelhorn. But yes, back to the strings. So we have this very dense texture. If we look at the notes, we have G here, we have D, we have the lower G here, they have another D here. So we have G, D, G, D. But notice this one is going down to the F. So we suddenly add a G minor chord, but then it's a 7th chord. And then we have this B flat appearing in the lower register. But also here we have a D. So it's not like a full-on G minor chord. I love working on this project because I felt like somebody was just instinctively, creating layers of sound, but not necessarily thinking always about like the root note of the chord and what it should be normally in a classical form written for strings. So that was this aspect of exploration within this. And also the fact that some of these lines are starting at different times, we're changing note at different times, we're adding the A here to the chord, but it's not like fully functional within what's happening here. To me, it's like the composer had these chords and he just decided to take a brush and to take some of the notes before, a little bit before, and some of the notes a little bit afterwards. So this creates kind of this tapestry of sound that's very, very rich and that's very blurry in a way. But yes, back to the different register. Also, the different register are very, very well designed. We also have some of these lines that are playing tremolo. That these are standing out very much. And I'm asking as well, molto sul tasto at some of them, to have this kind of sound that's a little bit more noisy. And this is very effective in this texture. Also notice that the bass line here is quite important. The double bass playing this line, it's pianissimo, and there's not crescendos and diminuendos like all the others are doing. There's just one here a little bit later, but it's mostly like personifying this kind of energy that drives the story or drives the main character. Might be in this case, and the rest of the lines are mostly unpredictable and moving around. But yes, again, these sul tasto lines that are coming in and going out, these are super effective to create tension within the harmonic world that you're building, within the sound world that you're building. And these are all layered in, so it was very easy for us to just isolate this one and to bring it out if we wanted, just with the single microphone that we had, the closed mic that we had. And see also how I'm very detailed in these crescendos and diminuendos, and this is all from the playback that he gave me at first and that I tried to reproduce. All of these lines needed to move around a lot, and don't hesitate to be so bold with the move, the crescendo and diminuendo moves. See, I'm going from pianissimo to mezzo forte back to pianissimo just suddenly, and then 2 measures to fortissimo and 2 measures to piano, and then 2 mezzo forte and back to pianissimo, and then here forte and then back to piano suddenly. It's like a forte piano almost. And this is super effective when you have so many lines like this, because it's like different people in a crowd like talking at different times. I feel like it sounds a little bit like this, with the beautiful reverb you use for this, really create this interesting and intricate effect. And see that the sound at the end, the lines are fading away one by one. This is something you need to plan as well. And which line are you gonna hear the last? In that case, was the bass line and this middle line here with the sul tasto effect also. But yes, this kind of approach to a string orchestra by using different types of soloists. It's actually something that's very innovative and very effective. And I would advise you to try the same. Don't necessarily think of the string orchestra as just a group of like violin 1 all playing the same thing, violin 2 all playing the same thing, etc. Try this in your next film scoring or next composition. This might allow you to get the intimacy of the individual line while still getting this effect of a huge sound coming from a chamber orchestra. So what do you think about this first soundtrack? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for listening, and make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss any video.